Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Man's Noble Beer Reviews. Today I have a beer from a brewing company that I don't think I've done a review for yet. This is from Jack's Abbey, and they're out of I should have known that. Framingham, Massachusetts. I should have known that because they have a beer called Framing Hammer, so, well, several beers called that. But that's their Imperial Stout. This one, their Baltic Porter. This one is called Bridemaker. It's their lager wine, which, from reading it, it's basically their version of a barley wine, but it's fermented cold with lager yeast. And it was aged in bourbon barrels, and it's 13% ABV. So, I did crack this open a little earlier for a share, but there's still a good bit left, and I felt like this was good enough that I wanted to do a proper review for it. So, I also will say, don't be discouraged. It was pretty flat when we originally poured it, so the way it looks now is not because it was opened once already. But as you can see, this pours a darker red to almost a brown color with a very small beige head. It smells really nice. There's a good bit of bourbon and oak. There's actually a little bit of a hoppy character, so I mean, it definitely seemed like it. I know it's not a barley wine, but it definitely seems like it started off as like an American style barley wine. There is a little bit of a like sherry type or minty oxidation, but it's appropriate for the style, and it's still pretty minimal considering this beer is like 5 years old. It smells pretty nice. Yeah, that is man, that's good. And I will say at the share and the tasting, I mean, this wasn't super cold, but it was colder than it is now. And now that it warmed up a little bit, it seems like that oxidation went away a little bit more, and so did the burn. You would think the burn would be bigger with when the temperature of the beer rises, but it seems to almost be less. There's really a lot of Rolo and caramel character there. There's a little bit of dark fruit. There's definitely some oaky bourbon, and the oxidation level was very low. And I'm trying to, to me, this reminds me, and it makes sense too. I guess it doesn't. I shouldn't say it makes sense, but I guess it's kind of coincidence, but this reminds me of like a poor man's version of Aaron, if that makes any sense. And the reason I say that is because there's really nothing about this that stands out particularly in making it like a crazy complex barley wine, but at the same time it is still fairly complex and very, very smooth and incredibly drinkable. And to me, that's what Aaron is. So when people say they think Aaron is the best barley wine ever made, for me, I disagree personally, but I understand the reasoning behind it, because even though I don't think it's the best one because it's not quite as complex as other ones with the barrel character that it has, it is insanely drinkable. And if you're just talking about something that's like really well melded and smooth to drink, then I understand why someone might say Aaron is the best. And this kind of reminds me of that, but just not as big of a beer. When I say big, obviously I'm not talking about alcohol because it's 13%. But Aaron is just a heftier beer, and it is still more complex than this is, but it's still less complex than like the best barley wines I've had. But I would say this is still somewhat complex, but it's incredibly drinkable and it's very tasty. So I do understand why people really praise this barley wine or lager wine, whatever you want to call it. And I had also heard that some of these had infection problems. This absolutely does not. It is super clean. I mean, it's like 4 years old at this point, so obviously it's not infected. And I will say, if you have this, I would recommend drinking it now. I don't think it's gonna get any better than it is. I wouldn't necessarily say that it has crested the hill and gone down, but because I think the little bit of oxidation that it has works well with all the other stuff in the beer. But if it starts becoming more oxidized than it is now, I don't know if that's a good thing. So I would say if you have this, drink it now. But it is absolutely fantastic, and this is by far the best beer that I've had from Jack's Abbey. I generally don't like most of their stuff, but this is really, really good. This is a beer that reminds me of, you know, beers that I have at Fobab, and it might not end up being like the best barley wine I have that night, but it might be like number 2 or 3, so it's definitely up there. It's good enough that it stands out in a sea of a bunch of other barrel-aged barley wines. So I would recommend seeking this out if you're a barley wine is life type of person. Very, very good. So yeah, I think that's all I got in this one. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think, and I look forward to doing the next one. Thanks.